Ever wonder why your blood sugar is higher when you wake up than when you went to bed? You skip the midnight snack, you follow your meal plan, yet every morning your glucose meter delivers bad news. This isn't your imagination. It's called the dawn phenomenon, and it affects nearly every diabetic over 60. Between 4 and 8 a.m., your body releases a surge of hormones that tell your liver to dump stored glucose into your bloodstream. For diabetics, this natural process undermines everything you did right the day before. But here's what most doctors won't tell you. 3 specific dry fruits, eaten before bed, create a metabolic shield that works while you sleep. Clinical research shows they can reduce morning glucose spikes by up to 25%, improve insulin sensitivity, and stabilize the hormonal chaos driving those dawn surges. Let's start with a berry most people have never heard of. Goji berries have been used in traditional Chinese medicine for over 2,000 years specifically for blood sugar regulation. These small red berries, known scientifically as Lycium barbarum, contain unique polysaccharide compounds called LBPs that make up 5 to 8% of the dried fruit. These aren't ordinary plant sugars. LBPs are complex molecules that interact directly with your insulin signaling pathways. A meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials found that goji berry supplementation produces moderate to large reductions in fasting blood glucose. But the real magic happens overnight. During sleep, your body repairs pancreatic beta cells, the cells that produce insulin. LBPs enhance insulin receptor activity precisely during these repair hours, making your cells more responsive to whatever insulin you're producing. Now, while opening the door for glucose to enter your cells is crucial, there's a silent killer of pancreatic function that happens overnight, one that goji berries specifically neutralize. We'll look at how they protect your insulin-producing cells in just a moment, but first you need to understand the metabolic pathway that makes this protection possible. The mechanism works through AMPK pathway activation. AMPK is the same metabolic enzyme triggered during exercise. When activated, it promotes glucose uptake into cells without requiring extra insulin. This is crucial for diabetics whose cells have become resistant to insulin signals. LBPs essentially open the door for glucose to enter muscle and liver cells, clearing it from your bloodstream naturally. Research also shows LBPs improve glucose-stimulated insulin secretion. This means your pancreatic beta cells release insulin more efficiently in response to rising blood sugar. Instead of a delayed, sluggish response, your body reacts appropriately to glucose changes. One prospective cohort study demonstrated up to 25% reduction in post-meal glucose spikes with consistent goji berry use. The antioxidant protection is equally important. LBPs neutralize free radicals that damage insulin-producing cells overnight. Oxidative stress is a silent killer of pancreatic function in diabetics. By reducing this stress while you sleep, goji berries help preserve your body's natural insulin production capacity. Beyond glucose control, goji berries simultaneously improve your lipid profile. Studies show significant reductions in LDL cholesterol and triglycerides, with increases in protective HDL cholesterol. This cardiovascular benefit matters because diabetics face elevated heart disease risk. There's also a gut microbiota effect worth understanding. LBPs act as prebiotics, promoting beneficial bacteria linked to better glucose metabolism. Your gut bacteria influence how you process carbohydrates and regulate inflammation. By feeding the right bacteria, goji berries create a more favorable metabolic environment. For practical use, the ideal dose is 1 to 2 tablespoons, about 15 to 20 berries, taken 60 to 90 minutes before bed. This timing allows optimal absorption during the overnight repair cycle. Soak them in warm water for 10 to 15 minutes before eating. This softens the texture and enhances nutrient release. You can also blend soaked berries into unsweetened almond milk with a pinch of cinnamon. The cinnamon adds its own glucose-lowering compounds, creating a synergistic effect. The warm liquid helps signal your body that it's time to wind down for sleep. One important caution: goji berries can interact with warfarin, increasing bleeding risk and INR levels. If you're on blood thinners, consult your doctor before adding goji berries to your routine. Monitor your INR more frequently during the first few weeks. If goji berries aren't available in your area, 3 to 4 prunes offer similar polyphenol and fiber benefits. Prunes won't provide the same LBP compounds, but they'll support overnight glucose stability through different mechanisms. Margaret, a 67-year-old from Ohio, reduced her morning readings from 145 to 118 milligrams per deciliter in just 6 weeks by taking goji berries nightly. She soaked them in chamomile tea, creating a calming bedtime ritual that addressed both her glucose and her sleep quality. But goji berries address insulin sensitivity. The next fruit tackles something even more direct, blocking sugar absorption at the source. While goji berries help your cells respond better to insulin, this next fruit prevents glucose from entering your bloodstream in the first place. Mulberries, known scientifically as Morus alba, have been used in Asian medicine for centuries to manage diabetes. These dark purple berries contain a remarkable compound called 1-deoxynogeromycin, or DNJ. This glucose analog literally mimics the structure of sugar molecules to block the enzymes that break down carbohydrates. DNJ acts as a natural alpha-glucosidase inhibitor. If that sounds familiar, it's because prescription acarbose works through the same mechanism. The difference? You're getting it from food, not a pharmaceutical. Alpha-glucosidase. Enzymes in your small intestine break down complex carbohydrates into simple sugars that can be absorbed. DNJ blocks this process. Research shows that 12 milligrams of DNJ suppresses post-meal glucose spikes by 30%. It does this by interfering with carbohydrate breakdown in the small intestine. When these enzymes can't do their job, the sugars pass through your system more slowly, preventing the rapid blood sugar surge that damages your vessels and exhausts your pancreas. Now here's something important. You might look at your glucose meter the first morning after eating mulberries and think they aren't working. If you don't understand the one metabolic shift happening beneath the surface, you might give up on them too soon. I'll explain that shift in just a moment, but first we need to see how DNJ creates a comprehensive barrier against glucose absorption at 3 different points. DNJ doesn't stop at one mechanism. It blocks SGLT1 transporters, the proteins that actively pump glucose from your intestine into your bloodstream. It inhibits sodium-potassium ATPase pumps that drive this transport process, and it reduces GLUT2 expression, another glucose transporter that moves sugar across intestinal cells. This triple mechanism effect creates a comprehensive barrier against glucose absorption. The overnight protection is where mulberries become particularly valuable for the dawn phenomenon. When you eat dinner, glucose absorption continues for hours afterward. Late night and early morning glucose from that evening meal would normally fuel the dawn phenomenon. DNJ prevents this delayed absorption, cutting off the fuel supply for those morning spikes. A 12-week human trial found significant increases in serum 1,5-anhydroglucitol, a sensitive marker of postprandial glucose control. This compound drops when you experience glucose spikes throughout the day. By keeping 1,5-anhydroglucitol levels stable, mulberries demonstrate their ability to smooth out the glucose roller coaster that exhausts diabetics. DNJ also regulates what happens in your liver overnight. It downregulates PEPCK and G6PASE, 2 enzymes responsible for gluconeogenesis, the process where your liver manufactures new glucose from stored compounds. During the dawn phenomenon, these enzymes go into overdrive, producing excess glucose that floods your bloodstream. DNJ puts the brakes on this production. There's also an insulin sensitivity component. DNJ upregulates GLUT4 translocation in skeletal muscle. GLUT4 is the glucose transporter that moves sugar from blood into muscle cells. More GLUT4 on the cell surface means better glucose uptake without requiring extra insulin. Your muscles become more efficient at clearing glucose naturally. Now you might not see fasting glucose changes immediately, and here's why. DNJ shifts the timing of glucose absorption rather than eliminating it entirely. Total glucose exposure over 24 hours decreases, but the peak moves to later in the day. This is actually beneficial because it prevents the dangerous morning spike while spreading glucose load more evenly. The glycemic index of dried mulberries is just 29, making them remarkably safe despite their natural sweetness. This low glycemic response comes from their sorbitol content, a sugar alcohol that slows absorption and doesn't spike blood sugar the way regular sugars do. Recent fermentation research has revolutionized DNJ extraction. Traditional methods yielded about 3.24 milligrams of DNJ per gram of mulberry. Using Lactobacillus fermentum and Saccharomyces cerevisiae fermentation, scientists increased this to 5.97 milligrams per gram, nearly doubling the potency. This means modern mulberry products can deliver therapeutic doses in smaller servings. For practical use, consume 8 to 10 dried mulberries, about 1/4 cup or 12 milligrams of DNJ equivalent, 45 to 60 minutes before bed. You can eat them plain, letting them dissolve slowly in your mouth. Their slightly sweet, earthy flavor is pleasant without being cloying. Steeping them in warm herbal tea creates a soothing bedtime drink. The heat releases more DNJ into the liquid. You can also chop them into a small bowl of oatmeal if you prefer a light evening snack. The fiber in oatmeal complements the enzyme blocking effect of mulberries. Another preparation method: soak mulberries overnight in water, then blend that liquid into warm water with a squeeze of lemon the next morning. This creates a refreshing drink with concentrated DNJ that you can sip before breakfast to extend the enzyme blocking effect into your morning meal. One medication caution is important. Mulberries may enhance metformin's glucose-lowering effects. If you're on metformin, monitor your glucose more closely when starting mulberries. You might need a dose adjustment to prevent hypoglycemia. Work with your doctor to find the right balance. If mulberries aren't available, 2 to 3 dried figs provide similar fiber, magnesium, and potassium content. Figs won't deliver DNJ, but they'll support glucose stability through their mineral profile and soluble fiber. So goji berries improve how your cells respond to insulin, and mulberries block sugar from being absorbed, but there's still one missing piece: the hormonal surge that drives morning blood sugar spikes. Cortisol, growth hormone, and glucagon all rise between 4 and 8 a.m., triggering your liver to release stored glucose. The next fruit addresses this hormonal cascade directly. Tart cherries, specifically the Montmorency variety known scientifically as Prunus cerasus, have a documented history stretching back to Roman soldiers who consumed them for endurance during long campaigns. What those ancient warriors didn't know was that these cherries contain compounds that directly regulate the hormonal surges responsible for morning blood sugar spikes. Tart cherries contain melatonin, about 0.135 micrograms per 100 grams of cherries. That might sound insignificant compared to melatonin supplements, but this natural melatonin works synergistically with procyanidins, powerful antioxidant compounds that amplify its effects on your circadian rhythm and glucose regulation. The dawn phenomenon is fundamentally a cortisol problem. Between 4 and 8 a.m., your cortisol levels surge naturally as part of your circadian rhythm. This cortisol spike signals your liver to release stored glucose, preparing your body for the day ahead. In healthy individuals, insulin rises to match this glucose release. In diabetics, insulin either doesn't rise enough or cells don't respond to it properly, leaving glucose elevated all morning. Type 2 diabetics have disrupted circadian rhythms, particularly low nocturnal melatonin. Research shows they face 54% higher risk of glucose dysregulation specifically because their melatonin production is blunted at night. Without adequate melatonin, the cortisol-melatonin seesaw tilts too far toward cortisol dominance, worsening overnight glucose regulation. Polysomnography research, the gold standard for measuring sleep quality, found that procyanidin B2 compounds in tart cherries increased total sleep time by 84 minutes and improved sleep efficiency. Better sleep isn't just about feeling rested. It directly stabilizes your overnight cortisol rhythms, preventing the excessive morning surge that drives the dawn phenomenon. Now, while tart cherries work for almost everyone, there is a specific genetic wildcard that determines whether you'll see a modest 5% improvement or a dramatic 20% drop in your morning numbers. We'll look at that genetic factor in just a minute, but to understand if you're a candidate for it, you first need to see how these cherries protect your brain's tryptophan supply during sleep. The mechanism involves IDO enzyme inhibition, indoleamine 2, 3-dioxygenase, or IDO, breaks down tryptophan along a pathway that produces inflammatory compounds rather than serotonin, and melatonin. Procyanidins block this enzyme, preserving tryptophan so your body can convert it into serotonin during the day and melatonin at night. More available tryptophan means better circadian hormone production. This creates a dual mechanism. Better sleep quality from enhanced melatonin stabilizes overnight cortisol rhythms, preventing excessive morning surges. Simultaneously, procyanidins reduce inflammatory markers like prostaglandin E2, which directly interfere with insulin signaling. Less inflammation means better insulin sensitivity when that morning cortisol does arrive. There's also a circadian glucose regulation effect tied to sleep architecture. During deep sleep phases, your body produces antidiuretic hormone, which reduces overnight urine production. Frequent nighttime urination disrupts sleep and causes fluid-driven glucose fluctuations. By promoting deeper, more consolidated sleep, tart cherries help stabilize these fluid dynamics that indirectly affect glucose levels. Research in seniors aged 65 to 73 showed remarkable cognitive and vascular benefits from tart cherry consumption over 12 weeks. Participants experienced 23% fewer visual memory errors and 3% better attention scores. These improvements reflect better cerebral blood flow and reduced oxidative stress, the same mechanisms that protect pancreatic beta cells from damage. The anti-inflammatory benefits extend to those insulin-producing cells. Anthocyanins in tart cherries, the compounds that give them their deep red color, reduce oxidative stress on pancreatic beta cells. Overnight, when your body should be repairing these cells, anthocyanins provide protection against the free radical damage that accumulates from chronic hyperglycemia. Tart cherries also produce modest blood pressure reductions. This vascular benefit improves glucose transport throughout your body. When blood vessels are more flexible and responsive, glucose moves more efficiently from your bloodstream into cells where it's needed for energy. One fascinating genetic factor, mTNR1B, variants affect how individuals respond to melatonin. Some seniors with specific variants may experience amplified benefits from tart cherry consumption, while others see more modest effects. This explains why some diabetics report dramatic improvements in morning glucose while others see gradual changes. Your genetic makeup influences how powerfully the melatonin in tart cherries regulates your glucose rhythms. Tart cherries also contain proanthocyanidins that prevent harmful bacteria from adhering to urinary tract walls. This reduces nighttime urinary tract irritation that can wake you up, spiking cortisol each time you're disturbed. Fewer nighttime disruptions mean more stable cortisol patterns and better morning glucose control. For practical use, consume 10 to 12 dried tart cherries, about 2 tablespoons or the equivalent of 100 grams of fresh cherries, 60 to 90 minutes before bed. Rehydrate them as in by warm water for 10 minutes to soften the texture and release more of the beneficial compounds. You can also blend them into a small smoothie with unsweetened almond milk and a pinch of nutmeg. Nutmeg contains compounds that enhance the calming effect, helping you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. The combination creates a delicious bedtime ritual that addresses both glucose control and sleep quality. Another effective preparation: steep dried tart cherries in chamomile tea. Chamomile contains apigenin, a compound that binds to the same brain receptors as some anti-anxiety medications, promoting relaxation without sedation. The synergy between chamomile and tart cherry compounds amplifies the sleep-promoting and cortisol-regulating effects. One important medication caution: tart cherries contain vitamin K, which can affect warfarin dosing. If you're on blood thinners, monitor your INR levels closely with your doctor when adding tart cherries to your routine. The vitamin K content isn't dangerously high, but consistency matters for warfare and management. If tart cherries aren't available in your area, 1 tablespoon of unsweetened dried cranberries provides similar polyphenol content and urinary tract benefits. Cranberries won't deliver the same melatonin, but they'll support overnight metabolic stability through their antioxidant profile. Set realistic expectations. Tart cherries improve sleep-related glucose stability and can reduce dawn phenomenon spikes by 15 to 20%. They're not a standalone cure for fasting hyperglycemia, but they're a powerful tool when combined with proper medication, diet, and the other fruits we've discussed. The key is consistency. Nightly use allows the circadian benefits to accumulate over weeks. Now you understand each fruit's unique power, but here's where most people make a critical mistake. These three fruits can either amplify each other's effects or cancel each other out, depending on one specific factor: timing and combination strategy. There's also a hidden medication interaction that affects nearly 40% of diabetics over 60, one that could turn these beneficial fruits into a blood sugar disaster if you're not careful. And if you're planning to use all three, there's a rotation schedule that maximizes results and one that wastes your time completely. Let me show you exactly how to make these work together safely and which common mistake to avoid that could sabotage everything we just covered. Here's the mistake that sabotages results: taking all three fruits at full dose every single night. Your digestive system gets overwhelmed, you experience bloating and reflux, and you quit within a week thinking they don't work. The solution is rotation or strategic combination, and which approach you choose depends on your medication status. You have two proven approaches. You can rotate them throughout the week, alternating every 2 to 3 nights for variety and sustained benefits. Or you can combine small portions nightly, taking 1/3 of the recommended dose of each. Both approaches work, but rotation often proves easier for seniors to maintain consistently. Here's a simple rotation schedule. Monday and Tuesday, take goji berries. Wednesday and Thursday, switch to mulberries. Friday and Saturday, use tart cherries. Sunday, choose whichever fruit you enjoyed most that week. This rotation prevents taste fatigue while ensuring you get the full spectrum of benefits over time. Understand the timeline. Week 1, you'll notice sleep improvements, falling asleep faster, waking less frequently, feeling more rested. Week 4, morning glucose readings begin stabilizing with fewer dramatic spikes. Week 8, you may see trends in your A1C if you're testing quarterly. These changes accumulate gradually because you're retraining your metabolism, not just masking symptoms. When shopping, look for unsweetened, unsulfured organic options when possible. Avoid sugar-coated or candied versions that defeat the entire purpose. Many commercial dried fruits are treated with sulfur dioxide to preserve color. This additive can irritate sensitive digestive systems and may interfere with the beneficial compounds you're seeking. Store your fruits in airtight glass containers in cool, dark places. Refrigerate them if you plan to use them beyond 2 to 3 weeks. Quality markers include consistent color, slight moisture rather than brittle dryness, and absence of added syrups or preservatives. If the fruit looks unnaturally bright or feels sticky, it's been processed with additives. Balance your hydration throughout the day, but cut off water intake 2 hours before bed. This prevents nighttime bathroom trips that disrupt sleep and spike cortisol. The fruits themselves provide some hydration when soaked, so you won't feel parched. Track your morning fasting glucose for 2 weeks with each fruit to identify which works best for your unique metabolism. Everyone responds slightly differently based on genetics, medication, and overall health status. This personalized data helps you optimize your approach. Set realistic expectations. These fruits are adjuncts to medication and lifestyle changes, not replacements. Expect 10 to 20% improvements in morning glucose readings over 8 weeks. That might not sound dramatic, but it represents significant metabolic improvement that protects your organs from damage. Your overnight shield is now in place. But here's what most diabetics don't realize. All that nighttime metabolic repair, the insulin sensitivity, the blocked absorption, the regulated cortisol, can be completely erased in the first 30 minutes after waking. Your breakfast is the make or break moment. There's one specific bread sitting in diabetic pantries right now, marketed as healthy, recommended by well-meaning nutritionists, that spikes your glucose faster than white sugar. Within 15 minutes of eating it, your insulin resistance returns. Within 30 minutes, your liver starts dumping glucose again. But there's also one bread that does the opposite. It extends your overnight protection through breakfast and keeps your glucose stable until lunch. The difference between these two breads is the difference between waking up at 118 and staying there versus watching it climb to 160 by 9 a.m. Click the video on your screen to complete the 24-hour protection cycle. Without the right breakfast strategy, that morning meal becomes the trap that erases everything, and I'll show you exactly how to avoid it.